so cool that there's an art fair going on across the street from my apartment. I love where I live. So cool. But before I get to the main part of this video, I wanted to highlight one of the photographs that I have on my website. Something I really like to do is to shoot places that have been abandoned, places that have been shut down, maybe through a fire, maybe through couldn't make any money anymore. Who knows? There are a plethora of reasons why places shut down. But I love to shoot them because, to me, they tell a great story, you know, especially in the case of this particular building. It just looks like it's been through a lot, you know, like it's probably been sitting here for a very, very long time. I'm pretty sure it was a residential building, so I think about a family that might have lived there. I mean, one of the reasons I could never buy a foreclosed house, and I know a lot of people do this for a living, like they run around looking for foreclosures. One reason I could never ever do that is because I can't look at a house like that or an apartment and not think about the heartbreak of a family that might have had to leave, you know, like not think about the kids who might have been there, who maybe grew up in there, or maybe the parents or the couple or one person or whatever, like maybe somebody who, you know, had a dream of buying this place, that maybe they built their dream kitchen or their dream bathroom, and who knows the reason why it got shut down. You know, we have no idea. It could have been a bad mortgage. It could have been somebody lost their job, somebody got sick. I can't do it. So there are so many amazing stories. I mean, also, I think maybe somebody lived here for 100 years and lived a good life and just decided to finally leave, or maybe they died or whatever. But there are such amazing stories, and it also can speak of the neighborhood. And, you know, like this particular building has looked like this for the entire 4 years that I've lived in this neighborhood. And so I'm just curious, like, if I had the money, I would totally buy a place like this, you know, as long as it's not a foreclosure. That's the thing. So anyway, I love to do that. And then I love to photograph sometimes the same place when it's been, you know, taken by somebody else and then fixed, to see what it's become and the complexities of all of that. I mean, on the one hand, it could be a story of redemption, a beautiful story, an amazing story. You know, you could say, why let it sit there and do nothing? I mean, somebody's got to buy it. Somebody's got to do something with it. But on the other hand, it is a sign of, you know, a problem of gentrification, perhaps, of, a bad economy, of capitalism, of all the things you could think of in that realm as well. So just, you know, it's just ripe with so many stories. And I love photographing like that. I love the rich colors of this place. I shoot mostly black and white with my still photography, but in this case, the color was so stark. And so I just shot it in the regular, not the natural, but the standard profile on my Panasonic S5. And this is just a JPEG right out of camera. I didn't do any kind of editing or anything like that. This is the composition I got. I didn't crop it. I didn't do anything. And I'm really proud of it. I'm happy with it. So that's the picture that I wanted to highlight for this particular video. And now on to the main part of the video right now. All right, I'm up here in Rhinebeck, New York, one of my favorite places in the world, right here on the Hudson River. I wanted to make a really quick video, and it is going to be quick. Something came up the other day when I was shooting, my last video actually, and it's something that drives me crazy, and it's actually something that makes me feel like I got stung by a bee, and I'm kind of always looking over my shoulder for it, and it's just something that really bugs me. And it's the one thing, I think it's the one thing that could make me upgrade my camera. And now a train's going to go by, so it's going to get really noisy. It's an Amtrak. Anyway, what's the one thing that could make me want to upgrade my camera? Well, I was shooting on this high school football field the other day, and there was a track, and there was soccer goals there, and there was bleachers, and, you know, like, it was a beautiful setting. It's actually going to be a location for a film that I'm getting ready to shoot. And I got this beautiful composition, and I had, you know, the light was really good. Everything looked perfect. And then this happened. Check this out. I mean, I feel like I was driving on the road and a bee, you know, shot into my car and just stung me on my arm, which is something that happened to me a few weeks ago, and I'm looking at a couple of bumblebees right now here on the ground. You know, the dreaded Moire. Now, I use the Panasonic S5, the original one. The one that is less likely to have Moire than the S5 Mark II, the S5 2X, the S1 II, the S1 IIe, like any of these cameras, are much more likely to have Moire than my original S5. But the thing that the S5 is lacking is an optical low-pass filter, which, you know, is something that I've really wanted, and that's why I've been looking at a different camera. So the thing is, all of these new cameras are very appealing, right? But my workflow has nothing to do with a lot of what these cameras can provide. Like, first of all, I'm fine shooting 4K 24 frames per second 90% of the time. Like 4K 60, I don't mind the crop because I hardly use slow motion at all. And generally I'm shooting documentaries or narrative films, and I can move back, like it doesn't bother me. And like I said, it's not like a big priority for me. I'm not shooting slow motion all the time. So 4K 60 is like, it's just an extra that I like, but I don't think about it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. And certainly 4K 120 and stuff like that, I don't care, you know? I have all the codecs I could ask for in the S5. You know, like I got Cinema 4K, you know, 17:9, I got 4K. I can shoot anamorphic. All of my lenses are either anamorphic. I have 3 Siri APS-C 1.33 anamorphics, all manual, and I have a bunch of vintage lenses, which I'm using one right now. I'm using a Minolta Rokkor 35mm f2.8. They're all manual lenses, so I'm not thinking about autofocus. It's not part of my workflow. It's not part of my thing. So these new cameras, they have unbelievable autofocus, all the AI features, stuff like that. Open gate, like, I don't really think about open gate. You know, it doesn't, I think it's overrated, to be honest with you, but I'm not really, I don't mind repurposing a 4K image to 9:16 for Instagram or something like that. Like, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference, you know. If it's slightly less fidelity, okay, you know, like people go, oh, you're giving up so much. It's like, you're not giving up so much. You know, if you're looking for perfection, if you're looking for the best possible image, then yeah, get one of these new cameras. But the thing that none of these new cameras have, none of them has it, is an optical low-pass filter. So I really have 2 choices for if I want to keep using my lenses, because I have an L mount. Now obviously I could adapt my vintage lenses, but I can't adapt my anamorphics, and I shoot anamorphic most of the time when I'm doing real projects. Like the feature I'm shooting, I'm using 3 anamorphic lenses that I have. This documentary that I shot, well, I'm still shooting it actually. I'm using all my vintage lenses, so I could adapt those to anything. So anyway, the camera that I'm always thinking about, the camera that I'm always looking at, is the Panasonic S1H. Now the S1H for me would be a real step up from the S5. It's got more codecs. I believe it has open gate. I'm not sure about that, but I think it does. But again, I don't really care about open gate, but it does have an optical low-pass filter. And it's a little bit chunkier and heavier than the S5, so that would give it better IBIS. So yeah, when I saw that Moire the other day, the thing about Moire is that I'm sure if I had seen it while I was shooting, I could have fixed it. Like, I could have worked with my aperture, and I could have focused probably maybe 100 feet closer to the camera or somewhere far away, so that would have been out of focus and it probably wouldn't have created that aliasing. But I didn't see it because I don't generally use an external monitor, which it would probably be more responsible of me to do that. But I like this monitor on the S5. I'm used to it. I like the way it looks. I know what the exposure is going to look like when I get back to my computer based on this monitor, because I'm just so used to it. And so I just didn't catch it, and I got it when I got home. And the thing was, it was a shot that I wanted to use for my establishing shot. It was an important shot. And so it was just a YouTube video, so it really didn't matter to me all that much. But if it was like a real project, that would have pissed me off, you know. It did piss me off because, like I said, I feel like I'm always looking over my shoulder. I'm waiting for it to happen. And it happened, and it ruined the shot. I couldn't use it. You know, I'm not gonna even go in there and try to fix it. I could get rid of that soccer goal or whatever. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it happened, and I had other shots that I kind of changed my edit a little bit and used my establishing shot as something different. But it would be nice to have a camera that has an optical low-pass filter. So I guess my options are the S1H or the GH5S, which I'm not going to use because I don't have, a plethora of micro four thirds lenses. I do have a GH5, but I only have 2 cheap lenses because it's really just a backup camera for me. I don't really use it that much. I use it for fun sometimes, and it's a great camera. It's amazing, but it doesn't have an optical low-pass filter. I think there are a couple of Blackmagic cameras that have them, but I know that the 6K Pro, which is an L mount, does not have an optical low-pass filter. And I don't think it does. Like, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, it would be less convenient for me to get a Blackmagic camera because even though it's an L mount, you have to kind of kit it out a little bit more. It doesn't work by itself like the S1H would. At least I don't think it. I'm not really paying attention to Blackmagic cameras. I'm just into the cameras that I have. And I know a lot about the S1H because I've been looking at it for a long time. I mean, I've had this camera now for about 3 years. And honestly, the Moire has shown up maybe 4 or 5 times the whole time that I've owned it. So it's not really a big deal. But the thing is, if I'm working on a real project and it shows up even once, then it is a big deal. And I also understand that when you have an OLPF, it's not a guarantee that you're not going to get Moire, but it's much less of a chance, and it's almost a guarantee, and it's something that I think is worth it. And actually, if I could get an S1H now for I've seen them for $1,500–1,600 on MPB. I've seen them on KEH. I've seen them on eBay for certainly less than $2,000. That's an incredible deal. That was over $4,000 when it came out. And it is arguably still one of the best cameras that you can have for video, short of going up to like an RE or, some kind of real cinema camera. Sony Venice or something like that. Like if you're going to have a hybrid camera, a mirrorless camera, the S1H, you can't really do better. It's not going to overheat. It's really reliable. It's built like a tank, and everybody loves the image quality on it. It's got a legendary image quality. An image quality that's looked at as cinematic, which I hate using that word, but that's the way people look at it. It's got the best image, just like this S5 has the same reputation. So if I could have this, but better image quality and not that ultra sharp image quality that the S2 or the S5 II or the 2X have, then I'll be happy. That's one of the main reasons I didn't upgrade to those cameras, because I don't care about autofocus and I don't want a sharper image. If anything, I want less sharp of an image. So I'm looking very seriously at the S1H before I start shooting this film this winter. And for me, that's a good reason to change your camera. That's a good reason to update, because there's a tangible reason, a tangible upgrade to your workflow that's going to make things better for you. That's going to kind of take it out of my mind or take it out of the equation where I don't have to look at it. And, I could buy an external monitor, but then it kind of messes up my, the way I like to work. Like I'm always running around. I am kind of run and gun. And to have an external monitor sitting on the camera, it's a pain in the ass. I got to have power for it. I got to start thinking about batteries again. And it's annoying. I have a micro HDMI on this camera. I got to worry about that. I got to put a cage on it probably. Like I don't want to think about it. If I can get an S1H and, I would sell the S5, I could probably get it really cheap, So I'm thinking about it, and I think that would be a good reason to do it. And so, yeah, that's what I'm talking about from out here from Rhinebeck, New York, this beautiful setting. I'll get a couple of shots for you real quick, nothing big. And I hope this gave you some kind of an insight, because I know people are always thinking about upgrading, but I think that people don't know exactly why they want to upgrade all the time. Like, they just know that the newer cameras have better, newer stuff, but is it really going to help your final project? Is it really going to help, the whole intention of what you're doing? Like, I don't think it does. I just think that new stuff just keeps coming out and people keep wanting it, and they think like, wow, it looks so much better, when it doesn't really look so much better. I mean, I used the Sony a6400 for years, right? And it's an 8-bit camera, and the image quality was amazing. Like the 4K on that camera, even the 1080 was amazing. It was beautiful. Like, did I have as much flexibility as I have in this camera with 10-bit? No. But does that really matter? Like, I can't tell you how often I shoot with this camera. I expose the way I want it to be exposed in the camera using Vlog, and I don't have to do anything in post. Or if anything, very little. I just, you know, I just put the image into the correct color space, and it looks beautiful. That's just like I'm exposing in camera the way I want it to look. I'm not, you know, exposing to the right. I'm not, you know, worrying about the shadows or the highlights. I'm trying to get the image that I want while I'm shooting it. So, you know, I just think it doesn't really make that much of a difference if you get a new camera. It just doesn't. So, yeah, if you're starting from scratch, get the latest thing, because then you're going to get support for more years from the companies, and if they do any kind of upgrades or, you know, software upgrades or anything like that, you would guarantee to get them. But if you have something that you like, keep it. You know, it's fine. Like, master it and then just tell stories. But if you're like me right now, if you have something like an S5 that, by the way, I adore, like, I love this camera, I will fight for it. You know, like, I think it's better than anything. But now that Moire has happened a few too many times, like, I would say, like I said, 4 or 5 times over the last couple of years, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of is a big deal when it happened like it happened the other day. And I didn't know about it till I got home, because it was something like way in the back of the frame, but it was so prominent that it was annoying, you know? Like, I don't know if it would annoy you or everybody, but it certainly, I saw it right away, and it was prominent enough to distract me from the beauty of the whole frame, which was an establishing shot, an opening shot, which is really important. And you don't want anything to be distracting. You always want your shot to be what you intend. You know, you don't want any surprises in there unless they're good surprises. That's not a good surprise. So you just want it to be what you want it to be. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I have an S1H in my hands before I start shooting this winter. I'm going to do that. There's a lot of them available. They're reasonably priced. I can do it, you know. I have lenses for it. I don't have to do anything but get the camera, make sure I have proper batteries, stuff like that, and I'm good to go. It doesn't change my workflow at all. And I might even keep the S5 because it's reasonable enough. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say for today. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please consider joining my Patreon. That would be awesome. And I hope wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you're safe. And I hope everybody you love is safe. And please, let's look out for one another in these crazy times. Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but look out for each other. Be attached to your community. Don't hide, you know. And most importantly, make art, because art is the most powerful thing that we have during a time like this. And yeah, even if it's just to feel better, art heals. It's like a cliche, but it's so true. But also use it to, you know, document things and keep history going and, you know, all the good things. So anyway, thanks again, and I will see you very soon. All right, peace.